King Charles countered Starmer, and UK politics has been thrown into total shock. When a Prime Minister declares war on his king, who survives? According to multiple insider accounts, King Charles invited Nigel Farage and several senior members of Reform UK for a private 2-hour discussion. Not a photo op, not a ceremonial courtesy, but a genuine strategic meeting about the future of the nation. It was the kind of move no modern monarch had dared attempt in centuries. The conversation was supposed to remain confidential. Officially, no one outside the room knew what was discussed. But one document changed everything. A Reform UK pamphlet titled "Restoring Britain's Democratic Foundation." It accused Parliament of dismantling the delicate balance that had kept Britain stable for generations. It argued that the government's overreach had eroded democracy and weakened public trust in its institutions. When the king was handed the document, he reportedly paused, looked up, and delivered 12 quiet but devastating words that would ignite a political firestorm. Perhaps it's time for fresh thinking. The current path seems unsustainable. Those 12 words, spoken behind palace walls, would shatter his relationship with Westminster and set off one of the most extraordinary political confrontations in modern British history. The meeting should have remained a royal secret. Protocol demanded it. But within 48 hours, the story was everywhere. The Times, BBC, The Guardian, The Daily Mail, every major outlet had front-page coverage. Someone had leaked. But who? Reform UK had no reason to go public. They wanted the king's support, not headlines. Palace aides were equally unlikely. Betraying the monarch would be unthinkable. That left only one suspect, Downing Street. According to political insiders, Labour officials furious over the king's interference may have deliberately leaked the story to humiliate him. If that was the plan, it backfired spectacularly. Because when Prime Minister Keir Starmer heard about the king's private meeting, his reaction was so explosive that witnesses said they barely recognised him. Multiple sources described him as shouting, pacing and slamming papers during a cabinet meeting. His deputy, Angela Rayner, later confided to colleagues that he looked possessed. Then, in a fit of rage, Starmer shouted the words that may destroy his career and define this moment in history. "If Charles wants to play politics, I'll show him how the game is really played. The monarchy serves Parliament, not the other way around. He's forgotten his place." Those words weren't just defiance. They were a declaration of war on the monarchy itself. Every British leader for 3 centuries had respected one unwritten rule: the crown is untouchable. It must remain above politics, beyond attack, and outside public dispute. But Starmer had just torn that rule apart in front of his entire cabinet. Within hours, the news leaked, and social media exploded. Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook all erupted in outrage. One viral post showed Starmer edited as Oliver Cromwell, the man who executed a king. Another depicted him ripping up the Union Jack, captioned, "This is what happens when you forget tradition." Others showed him mocked up in medieval stocks with the line, "This is what happens when you insult the crown." What followed wasn't a political backlash. It was a cultural revolt. For the first time in decades, millions of Britons, including lifelong Labour supporters, were united in outrage. The ridicule turned into something far more dangerous: public rejection. Then came the numbers. A YouGov poll released the next morning confirmed what Labour HQ already feared. 73% of Britons said Starmer had gone too far. Labour's national support collapsed overnight, plunging from 42% to just 28% in a single day. In traditional Labour strongholds like Liverpool, Manchester and Newcastle, support cratered by double digits. Nearly half of Labour voters admitted they were reconsidering their loyalty. The first to move was Louise Hay, the Transport Secretary. Insiders described a furious confrontation with Starmer that ended with her storming out of his office. Her resignation letter leaked within minutes. It was devastating. I cannot support a leader who shows open contempt for the constitutional monarchy and the millions of Britons who cherish it. Within hours, 2 more junior ministers followed. Meanwhile, the palace said nothing publicly, maintaining its traditional silence. But sources close to the king said he was deeply troubled by the Prime Minister's remarks. For Charles, this wasn't just political turbulence. It was an assault on the very institution he had sworn to protect. Inside Westminster, the collapse of Keir Starmer's leadership has gone from whispers to a full-blown mutiny. His closest allies have abandoned him. Even Rachel Reeves, once his most loyal defender, has gone completely silent. Not a word to the press, not a single public appearance. But that silence isn't loyalty, it's strategy. Behind the scenes, Reeves is preparing her own leadership bid. Even veteran MPs are in disbelief. Diane Abbott, a stalwart of the Labour Party for 4 decades, put it bluntly, "In 40 years, I've never seen a leader self-destruct like this." The cabinet is splintering, the party is in freefall, and Starmer, isolated inside Downing Street, looks more like a man waiting for the end than a prime minister leading a country. While Labour implodes, Nigel Farage has seized his moment with the skill of a political tactician. While Starmer rants and Labour MPs plot, Farage stands calmly in front of a sea of Union Jacks, speaking softly, confidently, not as an agitator, but as a patriot. "While others attack our king," he declared, "we defend him. While others forget Britain's traditions, we remember." There were no theatrics, no shouting, just quiet certainty. And it worked. Overnight, Reform UK transformed from a fringe party into the standard bearer of British identity. The shift was staggering. Reform UK's membership skyrocketed by 400% in 3 days. Donations poured in from small businesses and ordinary voters furious with Labour's arrogance. Long-time Labour supporters, disillusioned and embarrassed, began switching sides. For the first time in his career, Nigel Farage wasn't just an outsider shouting from the sidelines. He was a genuine contender for power. The polls told the story. Conservatives steady at 32%, Labour collapsing to 26%, Reform UK surging to 24%. Britain had suddenly become a 3-way political battlefield. Fractured, furious, and unpredictable. Through it all, King Charles said nothing. Not one statement. Not one speech, just silence. And that silence became his most powerful weapon. Every hour the king stayed quiet, Starmer's fury looked more unhinged. Every day the monarch maintained calm dignity, the prime minister looked more desperate. Constitutional scholars called it masterful. Professor Sarah Matthews of Oxford explained it simply. The monarchy survives by staying above politics. By refusing to respond, Charles allows Starmer to destroy himself. Every word the king doesn't say makes him look stronger. Internationally, the fallout was immediate. World leaders began to weigh in, and not in Starmer's favour. In Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau praised constitutional monarchy as vital to democracy, a diplomatic but unmistakable rebuke. In Australia, opposition leader Peter Dutton called Starmer's remarks disgraceful and warned that Britain's global reputation had been damaged. Across the Atlantic, American news anchors replayed clips of Starmer's outburst in disbelief, describing it as a meltdown from the leader of what was once the world's most stable democracy. Britain, long seen as a model of composure and constitutional order, had become an international punchline. Now, the United Kingdom stands at a crossroads. Outside Parliament, thousands of protesters crowd the streets every night. Some chant for Starmer to resign. Others call for the abolition of the monarchy altogether. And yet, amid the chaos, the one question haunting Britain is the one no one can answer. Who is going to survive this war? So what do you think? Is Starmer finished, or can he recover from this historic collapse? Will the king finally act, or will silence win the war?